Hello everyone and welcome back to another Ruby on Rails speedrun. Now this one's not really a voluntary speedrun, it's more because I have about an hour and 50 minutes to get this up before the deadline for the video, but we're going to be doing it anyways. I'm just going to be stepping through this as quickly as possible. Basically, we're going to be adding in authorization into our speedrun leaderboard. We're going to be cleaning up some of the CSS and making sure that you can only create and update what you need to, and then we're going to be adding some additional functionality like associating speedruns to categories. So to get started, we're going to have to go over to our Pundit page, and we're going to have to install the Pundit gem. We'll just do that real quick. I'm going to bump up the font size so you can actually see what I'm typing. I'll say bundle add Pundit. That'll go ahead and add it. Now there is a generator that we have to run in here, which is Rails G Pundit install. So I'm going to hit F11 and then hit right click to paste this and then enter. Once that's done, we should be good to go. Now there are two ways to generate policies. I didn't really cover this too much in the video on Pundit, but there is a video on Pundit. But at the end of it, I showed that there is a generator command. And to do that, it's going to be Rails G Pundit. There it is, Rails G Pundit : policy. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll say Rails G Pundit : policy. And we're going to need one for our category. Now, the other thing we could do here, of course, while we're here, I might as well, we can do one for the speedrun, and then we should be good to go with that. Now, because we're going to be checking if a user is an admin for some of the speedrun stuff, like for example, if I want to edit a category, I don't want people to be able to edit their edit the categories, but I might want users to be able to edit their own speedruns. Maybe they forgot to include some stuff in a speedrun. So to make sure we can do that, we're going to have to add one more migration, and this is going to be for Pundit itself. It's going to be Rails G migration, add admin to user. It's just going to be admin : and then of type Boolean. That's just a way for us to check if a user is an admin. We'll then go ahead and do a Rails DB : migrate command to migrate the database, and then we can drop the database because I already have this. So we'll have to do a Rails DB : Rails DB : reset to reset the database, and hopefully that'll work just fine. Let's do a Rails DB : migrate command. And then I don't know if we have any users, so let's go ahead and let's check our seeds.rb real quick. I'll bump up the font size. We do have one, but I'd like at least a second one so we can test with this. So I'll go ahead and do that. The second one will be John at, and we'll say doe.com. Dogs are freaking out for some reason downstairs. And then we'll set this one to have an admin of false, and we'll set the other one to have an admin of true, just so that we can test all of this. So go ahead and save that, grab this, tab it over, tab this over that many times, save that, come over here, Rails DB : seed. Once that's done, should be good. Rails S, or no, actually we did this mistake last time. So with Rails S, our bootstrap dropdown wasn't working, so we had to come into our application.html, and we had to add in the source for the cdn.js deliver. But this time we're going to run this properly with bin/dev, because we set up the application with bootstrap and esbuild. Now, if we run it this way and we try to click on our stuff in the top right, let me do dean@example.com and a password of password. Let me scroll into 150 or 125%. If I come up here, I can no longer click on this because we have this second JS deliver here. So let's go ahead and delete that, come over here, refresh, and now we can click on our dropdown. Cool. So the next thing we want to do is deal with some of this authorization stuff. First thing we can do, let's get rid of this email, replace it with a username. So we'll say user.rb. Inside of our user.rb model, we can then just say def username, and we'll just grab the self email split. We'll split it at the @ symbol, grab the first part of it, which is just whatever's before the @ symbol, and then we'll call capitalize on it, which just converts that to an uppercase D. And go ahead and refresh. Nothing will change because we do need to actually use this username method. To do that, we can come into our app, views, layouts, nav bar, and inside of our nav bar, let me hide that with Control B. We can come down here to the current user.email, and we can paste in the username. Come over to the actual page again, and now we can click on this and we just have our name being displayed there. Next thing we'd want to do is we just want to make sure that we're only displaying the create category if we're an admin. So to do this, we can just do a if current _user and .admin ? And just checks to make sure that the current user exists. So if you're not logged in, this won't throw an error because you're trying to call .admin on something that doesn't exist. And then the .admin just corresponds to that Boolean that we made earlier. So if it's set to true, this will return true. If it's set to false, this will return false. I'll go ahead and hit Control S on that, Control R over here. And now we need to add a %end down here to make sure that we're only doing this check around the create category link. I'm not doing it at the end of this Ruby code right here because we have the li wrapping it. We could do a content tag here, but I'm far too lazy for that. So now we have the create category here, but let me come over to localhost port 3000 incognito and then sue Brave for lying to me and saying that I'm super incognito and my company can still track all my traffic. And there we go. So it's only working for our categories. Our speedruns are still fine, but we can only do it if we're an admin. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to leave this open because we are going to need this in a second, and then we should be good to go. So now what I'd like to do is let's come over to, well, first of all, let's get rid of this link to our speedruns. We don't need that. I don't know what I was thinking with that. And the reason why we're getting rid of that is because we don't need the ability to go to a specific speedrun. We just want to go to categories themselves, similar to how they do it over here. We just come over to our, looks like we have some people dropping off a new piece of equipment outside. So that's exciting. Okay, so just like we have it right here, we can only go to a specific category. So of course we want to make sure we're doing the same thing here. Now, the next thing I want to do is come into our policies because we're going to have to change some of this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and full screen. We're going to come into our controllers, our application controller, because we need to do some magic in here. Basically what I want to happen is I want to include the Pundit authorization in here so we can use this wherever we want to. I then want to grab the rescue from Pundit thing. Now what this is going to do, and I'm copying and pasting these lines of code from my other screen, is essentially whenever you throw an error where you try to visit a page that you don't have permissions for, it will try to run this user not authorized method. Oops, so let me come over here, which means we have to actually declare this. So I'm going to say private, make sure I spell it correctly, def user not authorized, right? And here, this works just fine, whatever GitHub Copilot gave us. A flash alert, you are not authorized to perform this action with a redirect to a request refer or the root path. I don't personally like this. And the reason being, if I'm going to like the new or the create action, if I make it there, this might not redirect me properly. So we're just going to set this to redirect to the root path. Just if you ever get to a page you're not supposed to be at, you're sent to the home page, and I'm sorry for that. But this way, hopefully, if we come over to like /speedrun/1/edit, and we don't have this defined, or we don't have permissions, it'll redirect us. Now, the way we can do this real quick is we'll just create a category. I'll call this the Twitter verified category. Because we did do that funny speedrun the other day. Again, none of this is serious. We're just doing this to pass the time. I'll go ahead and click create category. It gives us a category. Now let me create a speedrun for the Twitter verification. Now the speedrun link isn't working, so we have to go back into our nav bar because we probably forgot to give this a path. And we'll say this is the new speedrun path. There we go. Come over here and refresh. Click on the new speedrun. Category will be Twitter verified, and the time we'll just set to 900 for now because that's still not a real time, it's just a fake time. So we can go ahead and do that. And now if we come over to speedrun/1/edit, ideally when we're done, we'll want this to redirect us when we try to visit this path. Now to do that, we can come into our policies. So the first one we want to come into is going to be inside of our policies folder and our speedrun policy. Now inside of our speedrun policy, basically what we want to do is above the scope, we just want to create some stuff. We want to do the, let me see, we can just grab the index, show, create. These are all going to be pretty similar. It's just returning true. And then we have an update and a destroy check. And what we're doing in here is we're just checking if the user is an admin, question mark, or if the record.user, we're getting record from the parent right here, the application policy. Record is right here. It is just set to whatever the item is that we're checking. So in this case, it'll be a speedrun. If the speedrun.user is equal to the current user. So if that's true, then you're good to go. If it's not true, then John is trying to edit Dean's speedrun, for example, and that won't work. But if John is an admin, it'll still return true. So that takes care of all of that. Let's go ahead and let's try to refresh. It's not going to work. And the reason is we have to call the authorized method inside of our speedruns controller. I'm so glad I learned how this gem works. Basically, what we have to do is anywhere where we want to check and make sure we're authorizing for a speedrun, we should be doing it. So our show should be fine. Our new, we'll probably want to authorize for that. Our edit, we'll probably want to authorize for that. Our create, we don't necessarily need to authorize for the create or the edit now that I'm thinking about. Well, I guess for the edit we do, but not for the create. And then for the update, we'll want to authorize for that. And then for the destroy, we actually want to authorize before we do the @speedrun.destroy. So now let me hit F11 again, come over here and refresh, and now we're being redirected to the home page exactly like we would want it. Next thing we can do is come into our category policy, and we can do something very similar. In fact, the way that I managed to make this work is I pretty much just copy and pasted this. Inside of our category policy, we want to be more restrictive. You have to be an admin to destroy, to update, or to create, but you can visit the index and the show page just fine. Let's save that, come over to categories, show this category, and then we'll try to edit this category. This allows us to go to the edit category page, which means we have to come into our categories controller. And for everything in the categories controller that we want to redirect, we'll have to do another authorize. We'll hit F11, we'll come in here, and index and show are once again fine. You could do all of this in a before action, of course, but for certain pages, you might want to make sure that you're running it at the appropriate time. But in general, for all of these, you should be good to just do it in a before action, I believe. So we can do all of that. Let's hit F11, and now let's try to refresh, and that'll send us back to the home page. But if I come over here to categories, show this category, edit this category, Dean can edit it because he is an admin. Okay, next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to style the categories page. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. We'll come over to the categories. Let's create one more category for the blog Speedrun. We'll give this an image. I'm just gonna go into my downloads folder. I'm gonna go with the Minecraft one, and then I'll just create this back to categories. So now we have two. So let's go ahead and let's come into our views, categories, and our categories index page. This is gonna be the first page we're gonna style. We're just gonna do some basic bootstrap to accomplish this. We'll come up to the top. We have this div with a container right here. Let's tab everything over. Inside of this, we have our categories tag. We'll do a .row. We'll wrap all of this inside of that .row. Then for each category, we'll do a .call-4 with a .card. Actually, we'll just do the .call-4 real quick so I can show you how this works. So come in here, refresh. Now we get 3 per row. Let's do the card next so you can see what that does. Refresh, it gives us an outline. That's pretty cool. Next thing I want to do is wrap around the category with a .card-body, hit tab, and then we'll do this. What does that do? Just gives us a bit more padding. Then for our link, we can do a .card-footer, tab, enter, move this down, refresh, boom, we have this right here. For this link for the category, I'll hit Control-B to hide the side panel, comma, class, btn dash primary, dash secondary, I think is what I had. Save that, refresh. We now have the secondary button. That's pretty cool. I'm actually going to grab this class off this div, and actually I'll leave it there, but I'm going to get rid of this p tag. We don't need this p tag. It's a bit too much. I'll go ahead and save. There we go. I want this on the right, not on the left, and I want to change this to just C runs. Save that, refresh, and now it says C runs. Cool, but I want to make sure this is on the right, so we'll do a align dash right for the class here. Refresh. Okay, apparently the align right class isn't working anymore. They probably changed something. I'm just going to leave it like this for now, and I'll fix this in the next video. What we can do now is we can come into one of these individual runs and just check this out. Now, in terms of what this looks like right here, I think this is fine in the card. But for our actual run, when we come into the category show page, I don't want to render the underscore category. What I want to do is create a new file, and we'll call this underscore category underscore with underscore runs.html.erb. That'll give us a new partial to work with. I'll come into the actual category, copy everything, paste it in here, hit F11 to full screen it, and then we can go ahead and we can style this category with runs. Now, the first thing we want to do is right below this image tag, we just want to grab a table. So to do that, we can come over to the Bootstrap 5 page. We can also go to Google, just say Bootstrap 5. We want to do a table. We can come into the tables right here, and that'll take us to the appropriate page. Once you're on this page, you can scroll down to a table you like, click copy, come over here, and then you can hit paste. Now, it's going to give you 3 rows. You only need 1. And then inside of this actual table right here, we have the t-body or t.body, t-body, whatever it's called. In here, we can do exactly what GitHub Copilot is suggesting, which is to do a category dot, this needs to be speedruns dot each. And then for each of these runs, we want to give it the run ID. You could, of course, order this. We'll order this in a future video. I, for now, just want to get the basic look down. We want the run.user name for the first one, which means this needs to be run.user.username. We then need a run.time, and then we need the run. It's actually going to be time underscore ago underscore in underscore words for the run.created at. That's good. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is going to be runner, the time, and the date of the run. We can go ahead and let's actually get rid of this TR at the bottom, save this. And let's come in here and let's grab one of these darker layouts here, the table-dark. So we can just do that real quick. We'll say we want the table-dark, save that, refresh, come into C runs. Now we need to actually render this run. So how do we do that? We come into the category show page right here, and we'll just say this shouldn't be rendering the at category. This should be rendering a category underscore with runs, comma, category colon at category. Save that, refresh. Now we have an issue here. Our categories don't have speedruns associated with them. So we have to come into our models, our category, our models in our category. And then in here, we need to make sure that each speedrun has, or each category has many speedruns, which are dependent destroy. And then the speedrun already belongs to a category. So what we can do now is we can come in here, we can refresh because that relationship already existed from the perspective of the speedrun itself. We're now good to go there. But of course, this isn't working from the category show page for some reason because this is, well, I mean, it's rendering the right thing. And then this is our underscore category with runs. This should be working. But for some reason, it seems like it is not rendering what I want it to. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's try to do a Rails C, and then we'll do a category.first.speedruns. So it does have the speedrun in here, so then I'm not really sure what the issue is. So let's close this. Let's full screen this. We'll come in here and in our show page for a category, we're doing the render for the categories category with runs, passing in the category. Inside of the categories with runs, we have our table. We need to have an equals here for our category speedruns. And then let's go ahead and move this over to the side again, refresh the page. That's not working, so we'll get rid of that. I'm not really sure what the issue is here. Oh, wait, I wonder if this needs to be table space, table dark. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we have our table being displayed here. Let's give this a mt-5, and then we'll refresh again. That seems fine. Now in our actual show page here, I want to wrap all of this inside of a dot container. We'll hit tab, move this down, save this, refresh. There we go. For these buttons, I only want to render 2 of these, which is going to be the edit and the destroy. If current underscore user dot admin question mark, because this is for the categories. And then for the actual speedrun, we can come into the speedruns page. We'll style the speedrun in a future video, but for now, what I want to do is inside of the speedrun show page, I actually want to only do these. Only do these 2 if the current underscore user is equal to the at speedrun.user. There we go, refresh, and now we can come over to a specific speedrun. Now in our category with runs page here, I actually want to change this, this link right here with the username. Maybe we'll just change this to a link to the run itself, just like that, refresh. Now you can click on that, it'll take you to the actual page here. And then inside of the speedruns show page, I want to make sure that this is only working if you are in fact that user. In this case, it looks like Oops, we need to do a if current user end save F11, refresh the page. There we go. That looks fine. We can come over to the categories, see the runs. In here for this check, we do need to check inside of the categories with runs. No, this is the category show page. This needs to be the ampersand.admin because that will cause it to not throw an error if the user's not logged in. So there we go. We now have working categories here where we can see all of the runs for those specific categories. Hopefully in a future video, we can get the time working. We can style the actual speedruns page and maybe give you some way to submit proof by uploading a video. But that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully this was interesting or entertaining, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.